Good afternoon, Year 4, and welcome to your topic lesson this afternoon. We're doing some computing and we're learning to loop commands. So, first of all, the question for you is, what are commands? Well, commands, they tell you to do something. They're not asking you, they're telling you to do something. So, for example, write the sentence. You're not asking someone to do it, you are telling them to do it. Eat the cheese. You're not asking them to eat the cheese, you are telling them exactly what you want them to do. So a command is where you tell someone to do something. How are they used in programming? Well, if I've got my robot here, and its job is to pick up the pink rectangles and put them in the box, I would need to program the robot using a programming language, and I've got a very simple one here, and I'm going to give him some commands. So I'm starting with start. That tells the robot he needs to begin. Pick up object, move arm over box, drop object. So the commands are given there. The first thing it needs to do is pick up the object, then it needs to move the arm over to the box, and then it needs to drop the object. So I am telling the robot exactly what I want it to do there using those commands. So I've created a program to make this robot do what I want it to do using commands. What about, though, if I wanted that robot to do the job over and over and over again? Well, I'd have to write a huge program, wouldn't I? If you can see on the left there, start, pick up object, move arm over box, drop object. Pick up object, move arm over box, drop object. Pick up object, move arm over box, drop object. So if I had lots and lots of objects, I would have to write a huge set of commands to tell this robot what I want it to do. Now, obviously, this is not practical if you're a programmer. You could be having this robot arm working for years. You can't sit there writing more and more and more code over and over and over and over again. So we use something called a loop function. So if we were going to get this robot to loop, see here what I've done now is I still started with start to tell the robot we're beginning. And the bits in red, it says repeat 5 times and end repeat. So that loop function there is repeating the bits that are in between the red bits. So in between repeat 5 times and end repeat, we've got the instructions, pick up object, move arm over box, drop object. So what this is telling the robot is that everything that's happening between the 2 red bits, you have to do 5 times. So rather than you having to write out 5 times the instructions, it says repeat these 5 times. Okay, so that is creating a loop in programming. And that's really important because if I've got, for example, 100 pink boxes there that I want to move over and put in the big brown box, I could just change that to repeat 100 times. So if I've got 1 million of them there, I could have it repeat 1 million times, and I don't have to keep writing over and over again the same commands. Not only is this easier for me as a programmer, but it means we have to store less code when we come to do it, so it comes up less memory space and a lot easier for the computer to process. So that is called a loop function, and that's what we're looking at today, looking at how we can use the loop functions to repeat commands. If you follow the link that I've sent you with the assignment, it will take you to this Scratch homepage. First thing you need to do is you need to create an account in order to program with it. Up here, you click on Join Scratch. Now, in order to join, you will need to use an email address as your username. You can either use your own personal or your parents' email account, or you can use the one that the school has given you, the @hwps.me account. That's all of yours to use. So that one is your username for Teams. You can put that one in there in order for you to join up to Scratch. Once you're in Scratch, you need to create a new project. So up here where it says create, if you click on that, and it takes you to this page here. Now, I'm not going to go into lots of detail about how to use Scratch. It's a really fun project, so give it a go. Just play around with it, see what you can do. But essentially over here, you've got your animation screen with your picture of a cat. Over here is where you put your instructions, and over this side here is where all the instructions are. So if you remember from the first bit of the presentation, I said with the programming a simple command, we need to have a start function, then the command you want them to do. Now, old Scratchy here, I want him to start, I want him to move, and I want him to say something. So in order to get him to start, if I go to events, I'm going to put this one here. It says when space key press, which means that everything that is connected to this will happen once you press the space key. Now I want him to move, so I'm going to go to motion and drag across this move 10 steps. Can you see they're stuck together there? There we go, they're all stuck together. That means I've created a mini program there. So it says move 10 steps. If you look at Scratch over here, when I press the space key, he moves. So every time I press it, he does that movement of 10 steps. Okay, I'm moving back again. I don't want him disappearing off the screen. But I also want him to say something. Okay, so I'm going to go here to looks. I'm going to get him to say something for a certain period of time. Now I can change these here. I could change the number of steps. I'm going to change what he says to I'm moving. And 2 seconds is quite a long time to say something. So I'm going to change that to 0.5 seconds, so half a second. And we haven't done decimals yet, but when you come to do decimals, half a second. Okay, so now, if I get old Scratchy here, and I press my space key, he says, I'm moving, I'm moving, I'm moving, I'm moving, I'm moving. Every time you press it, he moves 10 steps and says, I'm moving. But obviously, if I want to get him from here to the other side of the screen, I'm going to have to keep pressing space, 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 space. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to introduce a loop function here, repeating. So I'm going to go to control. And here it says repeat 10. I've got a forever. I'm going to use this one. I don't want a forever because he'll disappear off the screen. So I'm going to go for a repeat 10. Now, can you see here? I can change this one. So I can change that one to 12 if I wanted to. And you've got a space here. It almost like a bit of a monster trying to eat things. Now, if I grab these two and split them off, and I stick them in here, now, like I showed you in the earlier bit of the presentation, here is my loop function repeating for 12, and it's got the 2 commands inside it. So what it's going to tell the program is move 10 steps and say, I'm moving, but do that 12 times. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to click it here on my start. So now my whole program says when I press space, I start the program. I'm going to repeat what's inside my loop function here 12 times. And I've got move 10 steps, say I'm moving for 5 seconds. So now if I look at old Scratchy, when I press him, I notice he's moving and I'm not pressing anything at this point. He's doing it on his own. Okay, bring him back. If I wanted him to repeat this maybe 5 times, but rather than 10 steps, I want him to do 20 steps. And then he goes, there you go. And he just repeats what's in here as many times as I ask him to repeat it. And I can put whatever I want in here. And there are lots of other ones to play around with on here if you want to kind of switch costumes and things like that. So there's your basic introduction to how to use Scratch. Today then you have a choice. If you would like to have a go at programming a loop in Scratch, then go along, make yourself an account and have a go at creating a simple loop function in there. You can make it a bit more advanced to get your little characters to do whatever you want to do. Or I put there you could program a dance routine with a loop. So this is not just I want you to dance around your lounge. You're going to create a dance routine with repeated commands. So for example, you might say wave your left hand, wave your right hand, do jazz hands, and you want someone to do that 5 times. So you would create a loop function by saying repeat 5 times, wave left hand, wave right hand, jazz hands, end repeat. And then as you create that loop and you can actually write it down and give it to someone to do, someone can follow the loop. So, okay, again, I don't just want you dancing around your lounge today. You actually need to create a set of commands that someone can loop and follow, but you don't actually have to use a computer to program it. Or I put there, you can program a job with a loop. So this little girl there is picking up things and putting them away. So if, for example, you could create like the robot we did earlier, and create a set of instructions for someone to physically pick things up if you haven't got the software you can use to program or you don't want to use the programming software. But I still want you to write down a set of instructions, a set of commands that someone has to follow. So for example, it could be find toy, pick up, put in the toy box, but you put a loop function on that. So you would say something like either repeat 5 times or repeat until everything is picked up. Put that around the loop function so the person reading it knows they have to create a loop function. Okay, so it's about programming a person rather than programming a computer program to do something. So today you can either send me a link to what you've done in Scratch. You can send me a screenshot of what you've done in Scratch so I can have a look at it. If you're doing the dance routine, then write down what the loop routine is and send me that. Maybe some photographs or a video of people doing the dance. And again, if you're doing some kind of job, write down what the loop function is with all the commands in it. Send it over to me, maybe video and photograph whoever it is that's doing the job. Okay, looking forward to see how you get on with this programming.